Hello all, and welcome back to the Potted Plant Politics YouTube channel. And in today's video, I thought I'd relearn the theories of supply and demand. And I thought to myself, whilst I'm here, I might as well upload it for my YouTube audience. So come along with me as I relearn supply and demand. And try not to fuck everything up spectacularly. So, first of all, what is demand? Demand is the quantity of a good or service that consumers are willing to buy at a certain price. The law of demand states that as prices go up, demand decreases. And as prices go down, demand increases. Basically, imagine you were going into a supermarket to buy a can of Coke, and you saw that single can of Coke was £2. You might not want it anymore, or at least buy less of it. Where if it was on offer for 50p, you'd buy more of it. Assuming Ceteris paribus. Now, what is supply? Supply is the quantity products in which a producer is willing to sell the product at. The law of supply is ever so slightly different to the law of demand, meaning if prices are up, then a producer would want to produce more of that certain good. And if prices lower, then they don't want to produce as much as that good as if they would when the prices are high. So it's essentially the same thing as demand, but with slightly different reactions between pricing and quantity. Assuming Ceteris paribus, of course. Imagine for me, say for example, you work in a factory producing, I don't know, mangoes or something. And all of a sudden, a lot of mangoes appear on the market by other factories pushing the price down. Then you might want to pivot to oranges, for example, because there's not enough margin to be made in the mangoes anymore. Whereas if there was a shortage of mangoes for whatever reason, then you as a mango producer would want to produce more mangoes because the prices are higher, which will increase your margins. Now, I have said the word Ceteris paribus a lot, but you're probably thinking, hang on, Ev, I don't know what the fuck that means. So, let me explain it to you. It's essentially a smart ass way of saying if all other things were equal. The actual term is all other things being equal. This is because, well, economics is difficult, to be honest with you, and they can sometimes be lots of factors contributing to an outcome. So, what economists like to do is they like to change one variable at a time. Say for example, price and quantity. In order to explore that relationship, you have to assume everything else is normal if you only want to concentrate on that one relationship. That's essentially what Ceteris paribus means. It just makes it easier to explore correlations between two concepts without concerning yourself with everything else that could affect the outcome of the concept. Indirectly, of course. The direct controls themselves you're most likely looking at anyway, but the indirect ones you're not. Say for example, take for example, you're buying a chocolate bar, and that that chocolate bar is £1, and a consumer might buy two of them, and then the chocolate bar rises to £3, and then the consumer might only buy one. The point, the point of Ceteris paribus is we, when using it, we're not assuming any other factors have changed, like advertising, people's income, preferences, things like that. We're only changing the price of the product. On your screen right now, you should see two separate graphs. If you would direct your attention over to the blue one for a second, this shows what is essentially a movement along the demand curve. This would happen when a price change occurs. And a price change is demonstrated by a movement along the same curve. As you can see, point A is slightly higher, quantity is less because the price is higher. Point B, price lower. If we look at P2 and Q2, price lower on point B, quantity becomes more. Essentially letting you visualize the law of demand on a supply curve. And there is also a another another concept which is a shift of the demand curve. This occurs when other factors like people's income or advertising is introduced, then the relationship becomes not just measured by those two variables, but influenced by other factors as well. So we need to draw an entirely new de- demand curve to demonstrate the changes. This is demonstrated for you on the red graph. So essentially, a change in price just go along the same original demand curve. A change in anything else, then you have to do another demand curve entirely. Now, you may be asking, Ev, where's your supply graphs? I don't have supply graphs for simplicity reasons, really, because supply is essentially the same thing as demand, but it slopes upwards rather than downwards. But essentially, the principles are the same. Price change, movement, other factors, shift. So, for example, if I could just direct you back to the blue graph, if you imagine a merger of sorts between P1 but Q2, that's exactly what it would be. It'd be price up, quantity up as well. Because unlike the law of demand, they move in the same direction. Whereas when you're talking about the law of demand, they move in opposite directions. So essentially, when you're talking about the law of supply, price increase good. When you're talking about the law of demand, price increase bad. To put it in the most simple terms possible. Thanks very much. Bye all.